Hi friends, it's Michelle and I'm here with your Wisdom Wednesday workshop. Today we're talking about a technique that can be used with teaching language diversity to your child and connecting between ASL and English. It's called chaining. Now, chaining is a technique that is used often in schools to help children make a connection between print and signs. But today we're going to talk about how it can be useful in three different settings. First off, here's the problem that we often encounter. Often, parents are told not to use ASL with their children because it's going to make it hard to make connections with spoken English or written and read English later on. Well, an interesting thing happens here. Our concerns are always about the gap between English and ASL. They're different languages, so it makes sense that they're very different. How is ASL going to help us get to English? That's our concern. The second thing we may worry about is reading scores, right? Research out there is constantly telling parents that deaf children tend to graduate with much lower reading scores than hearing students in mainstream settings. That's an awful thing to think about, and we are really worried about our children's futures. The third thing is we're concerned about their vocabulary development. We want to make sure that they have tons of words in both ASL and English that they can use at any time to communicate with. Now, these are obviously three really important problems, but there's good news. Research from 4 different major studies has shown that this isn't a problem across the board. In fact, researchers looked at students who are in deaf schools and in hearing mainstream settings, students with a variety of different hearing levels and a variety of language skills. And they kind of looked at what was happening with their reading ability. And they noticed that overall, students with the highest reading skills and the best ability to use written and read English were deaf students from deaf families. Now, this has nothing to do with genetics. This has to do with language use, right? So those deaf families already knew ASL when their children were born. They were able to use it with their kids right from the start. Do not despair if you are learning ASL. This is good news. It means that with every sign you learn and put into use, you are helping your child make great language connections. That's what those families did, right? So deaf children from families that are deaf or have hearing family members who are already fluent in ASL perform better in school. They come to school with a large amount of vocabulary. This makes sense, right? They're seeing it right from the beginning, these signs, and they're taking them in. This means that when they get to school, they don't have to work on learning ASL. They're already using ASL, and they can put that ASL to good work to learn to read and write in English. The second thing that researchers saw is that there was a difference in the kind of ASL use happening in different classrooms. What they noticed is that deaf teachers and teachers who were hearing but fluent in ASL used signing a little bit differently in classrooms. They tended to fingerspell more. Often we can think of fingerspelling as an English edition, right? We fingerspell names and places and street names. But no, these teachers and the parents in the homes too were using fingerspelling to make connections with language. They were using fingerspelling to explain things, to make a connection with specific words, and to build their children's understanding of both languages. So today we're going to focus in on the real problem. The real problem is not how different ASL and English are. The real problem is that often our children just don't get the best quality of language input or a huge variety of language exposure. And chaining is going to help you do both better. So when you're using language at home, you're obviously working hard to learn ASL. That's why you're here. You are doing a great job, and every new sign you learn is one more positive in your child's educational and personal life. Great job. Your first goal is going to be to just sign as much as possible. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Use what you have right now. If you miss some signs, that's okay. Some signs are better than no signs, and you want your child to look at you as a language role model. So encourage everyone around them to pick up some signs, to make facial contact with them, eye contact, so that they can see their lips if they're speaking. Make sure that they feel included by turning your body towards them. And then when you're stuck on something and you don't know the sign, it's okay to use fingerspelling. Chaining is used with nouns to build up vocabulary. An example of giving variety through chaining is when your child sees a new bird. Now, the instinct is to say bird, but there's lots of birds. What type of bird is this? This is an okay time to say bird. Red, crest, beautiful, beak, orange, cardinal. I'm giving the name. Now, I just chained. I pointed to the thing. I expressed it in ASL, bird, red, crest, beak, orange, all those things. And then I said cardinal. You have to not think of words as having a one-to-one correspondence always. So cardinal took me 4 signs to express, but that's okay because that happens with English too. Those 4 signs together become a sandwich in our chain. They're together and they equal cardinal. By fingerspelling and giving the name, your child is connecting both. They can now express it in ASL. They can describe to you next time they see a cardinal, and they can also fingerspell the word. They will recognize this in print. They will recognize information about it. Now, one-to-one equivalency doesn't always happen. This is true for any language. Just think about ASL. This sign here means next week. 2 words for one side. And this one's even better. 3 weeks from now. That's a lot of English for one ASL sign. So don't worry if you had to express it using more signs or more words. The important part is expressing it and explaining it. Now, when your child is very young and you want to start chaining, the best thing to do is to use a thing that they already love. You're going to give them the fingerspelled version of this thing. Car. Many deaf families actually use this instead of signing car. They often do CAR because when you move it quickly, it looks like a sign. 3 and 4 letter nouns are the perfect thing to use chaining with because they are often fingerspelled in the deaf community. Car. Car. I point and touch. Car. Car. By doing this again and again, and every time I see car, pick it up, show them. Use it again and again. They will start to associate car with this. Now in the future, when you have the printed word car, you can point to that printed word and go, car. They will not automatically make that connection because to them, this is a sign. By going C-A-R, car, C-A-R, car, they will understand that the printed word is connected with that thing that they've been fingerspelling all along. Once they've made the connection that your fingerspelling is an important part of a sign, you can move to things that are not actually like the thing. For example, this is milk, but it's a toy container of milk, right? You can have a real container of milk, open it up, pour it, drink it. Milk, milk, milk. And then move on to something that represents the milk. Milk, milk, milk. Now I'm connecting the sign, the fingerspelling, and the sign. Milk, milk, milk. If you have an older child, you can connect this with print. Chin. Often we're concerned about body parts and if we have an exact sign to show this. Well, this is a good example. The word chin. Touch the text. Chin. See, I'm connecting all of those. Print. Fingerspelling. The thing in ASL. Fingerspelling. Print. By doing this again and again, especially with word lists of nouns, your child will connect these thoughts together. Bathtub. This may be a new print word to your child, but they certainly know the concept, right? Bathtub. Bathtub. It can even show it's 2 words. Bath, tub. Bathtub. Bathtub. This also empowers your child to know, hey, I already knew that sign. I just didn't know it also meant this word. What can you do with this information? Well, you can start to chain right away today. No matter what level of ASL you have, practice your fingerspelling. Think of those little things your child is using and go ahead and start doing some fingerspelling. If your child is older and you're trying to work hard with these skills with them, think about fingerspelling their vocabulary words. Have them fingerspell their word list so that way they're also putting their word list on their hands and beginning to connect those things. The more senses you use, the better the chance of remembering something new also. So chaining is really great for kids who need high sensory involvement, right? It's really helpful for all of us. It's helpful for you when you're learning a new word to fingerspell it and to sign it. So at whatever age and level your child is, you can use chaining today to start to build up their understanding of vocabulary words, to expose them to print, to expose them to English while building up their ability to use ASL. These are the things that research shows help deaf children and ASL using children succeed when they get to English. Good luck and see you next Wednesday.